You can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Arduda. This is my mom, Gina.
He's a journalist.
And she's the enthusiast.
She's enthusiastic. What a great weekend we had with football.
Man, it was an amazing weekend of football.
The pros acted like they were college again.
Yeah, well, a lot of those guys still are rookies, and young guys are still playing like they're in college.
The rookies were having a ball this week.
Yes.
But so did the veterans.
And the veterans
came out and played
up as well.
It was just exciting all over the NFL this weekend.
It was. And so with the intro we just gave you, we're going to go ahead and continue on with the NFL talk. And so like we mentioned, this was a really competitive, exciting weekend in the NFL. And there are a lot of people that are saying that, oh, the NFL's too slow, it's too boring, I don't really care for it, you know, they're just getting paid and it's all about themselves. Well, I don't know which NFL you're talking about, because if you've watched this season at all, you have seen a lot of really fun and exciting plays and great team effort by a lot of, not programs, but franchises all over the NFL. And so this was just another example of how awesome football is, and especially when you're at this point in time of the season, basically that midway point. Everyone's firing on all cylinders, and there's a lot of great plays to be made, and so it's just really fun to watch these guys play.
Well, and we're football people. We watch everything. Literally, I've gone and watched Pee Wee games.
If you don't know that by now.
In case, exactly. But I hate when I get in conversations with people where they're like, I'm like, oh, they're like, oh, did you see the Clemson game? I'm like, yeah, and then I'll be like, hey, and then did you see the Chiefs and such and such? They'll be like, oh, I'm not into the pros. Or I'm at a pro game and I'm like, oh, did you see the Broncos game, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, by the way, did you see, the Iowa game? And they're like, oh, I'm not into college. Don't talk to me ever that you're not into something.
Sure.
If you're not into high school, college, and pros, then you just don't like football.
Right.
Because this weekend specifically, all these people are like, oh, I like college. I'm not pros. It's too slow. There's grown men. They're just out there for money. You missed out because there were games decided in the last seconds all over. These were guys fighting to the end. Not guys. Grown men.
Grown men.
Grown men fighting it out till the end. I mean, I'm talking about games decided with less than a minute on the clock.
Yeah.
And let's get into it. We have 4 games this weekend that we want to talk about. Well, 4 matchups, I guess.
We'll talk about our team since that's pretty easy to talk about right now. We had the Chiefs on the road playing the Carolina Panthers, and that's Cam Newton territory.
Carolina Panthers who were in the Super Bowl last year.
Exactly. And we all know the dominance and the great run that they had. They were dabbing, they were dancing. So this is still essentially the exact same team that made it to the Super Bowl last year as it is this year. Now, they're struggling a little bit, but you still want to always go ahead and try to beat those teams if you can.
Oh, and that's a tough game on the road for our Chiefs.
And it's a tough road game. And Cam Newton, I don't care how good or bad of a season he's having, you always have to, exactly, he's dangerous. You always have to scheme for him. Well, the Chiefs really didn't show up until the last quarter of the game. It was not looking good. The Chiefs were down, and
let's tell the people how we watch the game. Yeah. We're extremely superstitious. So I'm like the place, if I'm watching it and they're doing good and I leave the room and I come back, they're doing bad, I won't leave the room.
Exactly.
If they're doing, if it's the other way, like every time I turned them on, they were doing terrible. I had to turn them off. I was like flipping around watching NFL Red Zone.
Yeah, there's stuff to just not watch.
Because I just didn't want to make my team lose.
Right. I'm the same way. I'll go in another room, and if they're losing, then I'll go to another room.
Watching the game like this.
Yeah, if I had a certain drink in my hand, or exactly. I mean,
I stood up the whole game.
We're coaching them. We're trying to help them win from our own living room.
And it matters. If I sit with my leg like this the whole game,
exactly.
That matters.
If I stand on my head with water, maybe they'll win. So, but we just love the game, and that's why it's fun for us while we watch these teams.
But the Chiefs, for 3 quarters, made us have to keep flipping back and forth.
Standing on pins and needles.
Yes.
And then our defense just rose to the occasion.
D Ford was just on fire yesterday.
Marcus Peters, Eric Berry.
Awesome.
The whole defense really stood up and said, hey, we're going to get this one. And the offense was struggling. Alex Smith didn't play last week. He's coming back from the concussion stuff. Spencer Ware also had a concussion in the backfield. And so there were a lot of different factors for our offense for them not working well. But they showed up at the end, and when it mattered most, we drove the ball. Well, Marcus Peters ripped the ball out from Kelvin Benjamin. Then we set it up for a Cairo Santos field goal, and we won it. at the end, 20-17, and it was just.
And did you know
glorious
that
game.
Eric Berry and Cam Newton have beef? Like
They
went to high school
because they
on
played
opposite
each
sides of the
other's-
fence.
Yes, they played each other they were high school
level,
rivals.
yes.
And they played each other in high school, in the SEC in college.
Yes.
And now they're playing each other in the pros. They went to the rival high schools in Atlanta, so there's a lot of history and beef.
And Eric
there,
Berry
and
won the day yesterday.
He did. He came in and was coming
It was
downhill.
awesome.
Yeah. So.
But our defense, boy, and I tell you, what do we say all the time? You need offense to win games, but defense wins championships.
Exactly.
So I don't want to curse them. I'm not even going to say it out there, but let's just say, go Chiefs.
Bob Sutton has that defense looking good.
They
and
do look
They pulled
great.
out another win. They're 7-2, so we'll hope that they continue to play well next week as they play the Bucs.
Well, speaking of a game that I kind of thought was an undercard game,
Sure.
all of a sudden I'm flipping around because my Chiefs were giving me a heart attack, and I flip over and watch the Dolphins and the Chargers.
Oh.
You got Joey Bosa there, and we had to put
Yeah.
him on blast for holding out. And I wanted to see, but
yeah.
you look at the Dolphins on that defense. You've got Ndamukong Suh.
Yes.
You've got help me out.
Yes, you got a bunch of you got a bunch of
I'm
guys that
sorry,
are
I'm
out there.
blanking, but they were so
Ndamukong
good
Suh,
and
yes.
dominant
Yes,
yesterday.
exactly.
Tearing up. Oh, I know Michael Orr's
Yeah, they
over
got
there.
Orr, they've got a
That's
bunch
sorry, I
of
had to
different
get my
guys.
mind
Yeah,
going.
that's all right. Well, it was an exciting game. There was so
was
much
just
going on
back
in
and
the Dolphins
forth.
Chargers game. Yeah, so there's just a lot going on.
It was a really good game, and it was again decided in like at the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, these are guys that were playing like they were in the sandlot out in the backyard. Phillip Rivers was gun slinging,
which is what he does.
Yes.
And the Dolphins, just very much like the Chiefs, they had to rely on their defense. The Chiefs had a pick six, just like the Dolphins had a pick six at the end of the game. And then the Dolphins tied it up with that pick six. The Chargers had a chance to win it. It was an interception thrown by Phillip Rivers, and that ended up concluding the game. But that was another
and
nail
Matt
biter.
Stafford is coming on.
I mean,
strong.
it is. That's two games in this weekend that we just highlighted that were just exciting.
And the
nail
amount of
biters.
excitement in the pace of the game, you really would look like you're watching college
It was
kids out
very
there
much of a college
going
atmosphere,
for it. It was
yes.
great. But then
Exactly.
they had two more games that just round out the night.
Basically, they ended out the night. Yes,
It was perfect. And it was the Cowboys, which was earlier in the day, but the Cowboys versus the Steelers.
it bled into the evening. Yes.
You talk about conflicted. Everybody knows I was raised as a Houston Oilers fan. If you rooted for the Oilers, you hated the Cowboys.
Right.
So I grew up hating the Cowboys. But more than that, my parents were Steelers fans. So back in the 70s, it was Steelers and Cowboys, and it was just hatred.
Oh yeah.
Yesterday, my great Steelers were playing the Cowboys, who I'd love to hate, except they got my boy Dak Prescott. They got Ezekiel Elliott. They've got Beasley. They got Des Bryant.
Yes.
They've just got
Witten. They've got all these guys.
They
yeah.
got people you want to root for.
Sure.
And that was a game.
Wow.
Tell them about it,
I
son.
mean,
That
it
was a game.
You got two of the most historic franchises in all of sports, to be quite honest. Not just football, but in all of sports. And the Steelers. We love Mike Tomlin. We love Big Ben.
I love him. Ben
Le'Veon
Roethlisberger,
Bell,
Le'Veon
Antonio
Bell.
Brown, our boy Harris on the defense.
James Harris.
James Harrison.
Big booty hair.
We love the Steelers. And I've been noted to say that I'm not a Cowboys fan, but this season is totally different.
You gotta root for them this season
because of the guys that they have this year. And
Yes.
so they've been drafting Nebraska players, which we love. Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, that rookie tandem in the backfield.
Drafted out of Mississippi State, drafted out of Ohio State.
It is just
Des Bryant
so
is
fun
out
to
of
watch.
Okie State.
Yeah.
They're fun to watch.
And it was just a great game.
And Dak
It really
has
was.
such a great story because he's fighting for his life, waiting for Tony Romo to sneak in like a vampire.
Yes.
And then Mark Sanchez is running around on the sidelines
trying to give him
talk to
advice.
Dak.
Yeah, I remember I was
Stay
important
away from
one
Dak.
time in
Look,
my
Mark,
career.
get away from him. You
It's
messing
like,
up his
don't
mojo.
listen
Just
to Mark
stay
Sanchez.
down
Remember
there
the
with
butt
the book.
fumble? Yeah, don't do that. Don't listen to him, okay?
End
Let
of
him
the
hold the
day,
footboard.
Big Ben and the Steelers were slinging.
It was down to the
gunslinging
wire
down to the
again.
wire.
Yes,
let me tell you, it ended with the Cowboys being up with 9 seconds left on the board, and we all thought that Pittsburgh would still win that game because it was just that
back
good.
and forth. They had fake spikes for touchdowns.
Oh my
it was
gosh,
just,
fake
it was
spikes.
It was an amazing game.
Freezing the defense and throwing it.
And then
I
that
mean,
game basically transitions us to the final game of the evening.
game of the
Sunday
night.
night game, which
the
was
rematch of Super Bowl 2 years ago.
basically, yes, the rematch of the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. And it was in New England. It was at Gillette Stadium.
Which you knew right there, you're not getting no calls.
Everything is
You hang it up.
disqualified from all
If you
the-
sneeze at Tom Brady, let me get the
if
flag
it's a
out. I can't
50-50
get it
call
out.
somewhere that's questionable, it's probably going to go towards New England. Now, with that being said, the 50-50 calls that normally go to New England, there was a 50-50 call at the end of the game last night that could have determined if the game would continue on or not. And it was Basically a fade in the back of the end zone to Rob Gronkowski.
To the tight end.
We all know he's big, strong tight end, 6'6", basically.
275.
Monster, just big, to whatever. And generally, that's usually a touchdown because he's so big, he'll go up and grab it. But when those types of plays are occurring, a defensive back is on their arm. There's a lot of touching and physical play there. Well, it was a 50-50 call, just like a fade is usually a 50-50 ball. And there was a no call. Instead of it being a pass interference like you would have thought it probably would have been.
If it had been the Chiefs, they'd have called it.
Anybody else, really. But they decided to keep the flag in the pocket. And so I thought that was good because it just allowed other teams to feel like, hey, we can still.
For the refs
so the refs, good job on that. But the point with that, it was down to the wire. It came down to a fade post route, or not a post, but a fade route,
to the back
of the end.
Well, and it was 4-down territory. I mean, New England had to go 4 downs trying. They needed a touchdown.
Seahawks,
didn't get it. Seahawks stood up. I think the Legion of Boom is never going to be what it was 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
Right.
But it's creeping its way back up there. My hero, Richard Sherman's over there. It was. But my
Cam
point
Chancellor, Earl Thomas,
and Cam Chancellor's the one that Gronk locked up with, and he prevented that touchdown.
So it was great. It was just fun. It was exciting.
Awesome.
Even if you were a Patriots fan, your team played it till the very end.
They did. That's true. That's
true. It wasn't a blowout. It was a great game.
It gave you a lot to cheer about.
Right.
So what a great weekend.
It was a great weekend.
It was.
So we love that. We got the Monday night game tonight. It's the Bengals and the Giants. So that'll be fun to watch as well. And so
I'm picking Giants.
It's that point of the season where it's going to be good football
every week.
We're
college
excited,
and pros.
And we're going to continue to bring you more updates here from us on OTD. We just want to say we thank you for joining us, and we appreciate your time, folks.